In this video, I'm going to explain 3 good reasons why I'll be shooting less film in the future. Now, first thing is, I'm not going to be shooting more digital. That's not the purpose of this video. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. What I'm trying to get across here is some of the reasons why I'm going to cut back on my usage of film. Starting with the first reason. Now, reason 1 is cost. Now, film is not particularly cheap these days. This is recorded in late 2019, and it's gone up considerably in the last few years. When I was shooting an awful lot of film 10, 15 years ago, the cost of something like a roll of Velvia was probably about £5. A colour negative film like Portrait you could probably get for about £4. Now, this is now going to run for about £15. And when you get onto the sheet film sizes, you know, this is the Ektar, the colour negative I tend to use, and also some Velvia. This sort of stuff was working out at about £2 a sheet about 10 years ago. Now it's about £5 or £6 a sheet. So it's becoming a bit of an expensive hobby to be shooting a lot of film. So I'm going to have to think about how much I actually put through the camera, because the more you shoot, the more it costs. And those costs can rack up considerably. I go out and shoot a reasonable amount each year. I shoot a fair bit of medium format, a reasonable amount of 135, the 35mm. And I also shoot sheet film. I enjoy shooting in 4x5. Now, I'm not even going to shoot colour in 8x10. I just can't afford it. It's about £30 a sheet in the United Kingdom. So reason 1 is I can't particularly justify the ongoing cost of buying and shooting so much film. Now, reason 2 is probably, for me, the biggest reason why I'm going to be shooting less film. And that's the arduous task of all the developing and the scanning, the post-processing stages. Now, if you're used to digital photography, you're going to get back and you're going to pop out your little SD card and you're going to put it into Lightroom or Photoshop. And from that point on, you can start manipulating the image. Brilliant. Might take you 10 minutes, might take you half an hour. But it's relatively straightforward. You can predict how long it's going to take, and you can knock out the likes of a vlog like this pretty quickly. Now, with film, you've got to go through a number of stages. First of all, you've got to get the film out the camera, and you've got to put it into some sort of developing tank or develop it yourself, or you could send it off in the post. Now, if you send it off in the post, that's fine. It goes off, it comes back a few days later, and you could even ask for scans to be done, more expense. If you don't get the scans done by the processor, you're going to have to do them yourself, which means you've got to run them through your scanner. Now, anyone who's used to scanning will tell you exactly how arduous, tedious, monotonous it is. It's not a task anyone particularly likes doing. I've not come across anybody, I don't think, although somebody will probably contradict me now, who enjoys the scanning process. I certainly don't. It's one of those stages I have to go through to get to the point where I can actually start working on the image. So my workflow is get the film home, get it developed, dry it, cut it, sleeve it, scan it, and then finally open it up in the likes of Lightroom. But there's another stage there as well for most of us film photographers. We have to start spotting the images. Normally you're going to get little bits of dust and dirt and scratches on there. Yeah, you can use the infrared cleaning on some scanners, but you can't do it with traditional black and white. And also, if you haven't got a very good scanner, it will actually soften the image somewhat. Oh, and if you're using a digital SLR or a mirrorless camera, they won't have any infrared cleaning. So there's an awful lot of work associated with getting your images into the state where you can actually start manipulating them. And I want to reduce that as much as possible. Now, the third reason for me personally, why I want to cut back on shooting so much film, is that I want to improve the quality of my images. Now, one of the things that differentiates when I shoot with digital to film is the amount of shots I take. And I find personally that my quality, my ratio of keepers is greatly more with film than it is with digital, because I have to think more about the actual costs and the effort of getting it processed and scanned, etc., etc., as I've already covered. Now, that makes me more careful in the selection of compositions, and when I actually press that shutter, I am less inclined to take a mediocre shot. I am far more likely to pass up something which doesn't look like it's going to work. With digital, I will take it. I went out recently, my friend Robin, and I didn't vlog the trip, and I took my Panasonic G9 I'm recording this video with into some woodland, and I just had a blast. I was clicking away, that looks good, that might work, or maybe I'll try it in portrait. I'll zoom in, I'll zoom out, and I've got hundreds of photos. And don't get me wrong, one or two of them are very good, but the ratio is very, very poor. And I also think to myself, if I'd have actually gone on that day and taken a more measured approach, I would have got better images, far fewer images, and the production process at the end would have been far easier, because I wouldn't have had to go through hundreds of images trying to work out which one was the sharpest and which one had the slightly better crop or composition, you know the story. So I want to slow right down. And now it's not such a problem when I'm shooting with, the sheet films, because I'm already fully aware of the amount of time and effort it takes to set up a shot, and also the cost of clicking the shutter each time. You're talking about, £6-7 before you even start developing it. But when I get to this size of film, particularly the 35mm, I am starting to get slack and sloppy. I had a trip recently where I defaulted from my normal slow process and careful way of working, and I just rattled it off. I ended up getting through 2 rolls of film on a simple outing, where 1 roll would have been more than adequate. 1 roll with 36 exposures was more than adequate for that day. Now, had I taken that approach, had I actually cut back and been far more careful on that day, and done the previewing with my little iPhone prior to shooting, and carefully got the composition and worked out the focal lengths before getting the camera out the bag, I would have shot less film, and the images would definitely have been better. 100% guarantee that they'd have been better. And that was borne out by my favourite shot from the day was when I actually did slow down, put a prime lens on, and take my time. So I want to improve my photographs. I want to reduce the amount of post-processing and scanning and developing I do. And I want to save money. And if I want to go out and shoot quickly, I'll use digital. Digital's fantastic. I'm certainly not anti-digital. Early morning shoots and late evenings when the light's changing rapidly and you don't know what the best point's going to be until you get it back later, digital is absolutely fantastic. But for those measured, considered shoots where I'm out during the day and I've got time to set my tripod up and choose the perfect focal length, I am going to be cutting back. I am going to be shooting far less film. So anyway, that's all I've got to say on the subject for now. Still be shooting plenty of film, but just a bit less than I have been for the last couple of years. And thank you very much for coming along, listening to me, putting up with my little rant, and I'll see you again soon.